Welcome to this episode of the Metaphysical Manner podcast, courtesy of Violet Spring, author, holistic life coach, intuitive energy healer, Reiki master, numerologist, and tarot practitioner.
All right, get ready to explore abundance, but not in the way you might expect. Today, we're diving into abundance, the whole truth.
Violet Spring.
Yeah, exactly. A book by holistic life coach Violet Spring. And she has this unique perspective that I'm excited to unpack.
Yeah, it's definitely not your typical self-help book.
No, not at all.
I mean, she uses this analogy of the universe as a giant corporation to explain how all this abundance stuff works.
Okay, so the universe is a company. I'm intrigued. But who's the CEO? Who's calling the shots?
Well, the universe itself is the CEO.
Makes sense.
Right, setting the vision, the big picture stuff. But like any good CEO, it needs, a strong leadership team to get things done.
Of course. So who makes up the C-suite in this cosmic corporation?
Well, first you got Universal Space and Time. Violet calls them the DOP.
The DOP?
Yeah, the Director of Operations. They make sure everything runs smoothly, keeps the lights on, so to speak.
Makes sense. Got to keep things running. But every company needs risk management, right?
Oh, absolutely. Got to have a CRO.
The Chief Risk Officer.
Yeah, the CRO. Always looking out for threats, opportunities.
Right, got to assess those risks.
And of course, you can't forget compliance and security. That's where the CCSO comes in.
Keeping everyone in check.
Exactly, making sure everyone's following the rules, everything's safe and sound.
Wow, it's amazing how she's built out this entire structure for the universe.
Yeah.
But where do we fit in all of this? I mean, are we just like entry-level employees in this cosmic corporation?
Not quite. We have our own special place, what Violet calls the Uverse.
The Uverse, interesting.
Yeah, think of it as like our own branch within this whole massive organization. But here's the thing. Even within this vast structure, there's a blueprint for abundance that's specific to our level of existence.
Okay, so there's a system for abundance, got it.
Yeah.
But how do we actually tap into this abundance?
Well, Violet outlines 3 key elements: foundation, structure, and process.
Okay, let's break those down, starting with foundation. What's the foundation in this cosmic corporation?
Well, just like any building needs a solid foundation, right? So do we if we want to build anything meaningful. And in this case, the universe itself provides that foundation. It's the source of all energy, the bedrock.
So it's like the universe is the venture capitalist providing the seed funding for everything.
Exactly. And that applies to our personal goals, too. If we're looking for abundance in our own lives, we got to connect to that universal source of energy. That's the foundation.
So we got the foundation. What about the structure? How does that come into play?
Well, for Violet, the structure is composed of 12 universal laws. Think of them as the guiding principles, the framework for how everything operates.
So if the universe is a corporation, are these 12 laws kind of like the company bylaws, the employee handbook?
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. They lay out the rules of engagement, so to speak.
So we got a solid foundation and a clear structure. Now let's talk about the process. How does abundance actually manifest in this whole framework?
Well, Violet describes 2 levels of process: the macro and the micro. The macro is the big picture, the grand cosmic dance of creation and destruction that's constantly happening on a universal scale.
So the macro process is like the company's overall strategy, its long-term vision for, growth and expansion.
Exactly. But here's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
Violet brings in the concept of destruction into this process.
Wait, I thought we were talking about abundance, growth.
I know, right? But she argues that destruction isn't always a bad thing. In fact, it's crucial for the universe's renewal process.
Okay, so how does that work? How can destruction be part of abundance?
Well, think of it like this. In any company, there's a constant need to innovate, to adapt.
Sure, stay ahead of the curve.
Right. And sometimes that means letting go of old systems, old products, even entire departments, things that aren't serving the mission anymore.
So it's like streamlining, becoming more efficient. You got to make space for new growth.
Exactly. And that's the macro process. But then there's the micro process. This is how the whole abundance thing plays out in our individual lives in the Uverse.
Okay, so the micro is where things get personal.
Right. And guess what? Those 12 universal laws we talked about, those are the guiding principles for this micro process as well.
So it's like those universal laws are the standard operating procedures for how abundance shows up in our day-to-day lives.
Exactly.
That's pretty fascinating. But before we get into the specifics of those laws, I'm really curious about this idea of destruction being a part of this micro process as well. How does that play out on a personal level?
Well, think about it this way. Sometimes we hold on to stuff that isn't really good for us anymore. Old habits, beliefs that hold us back, maybe even relationships that have, run their course.
Yeah, I get that. It's like holding on to outdated inventory.
Exactly. And these things, they can actually block us from experiencing real abundance.
You got to clear out the old to make room for the new.
Right. Letting go can be tough. It can feel like destruction, but ultimately it creates space for something better to come in.
It's a powerful way to reframe it, for sure. So those 12 universal laws, they're the guiding principles for all of this. Can you give us a little preview of what some of these laws are all about?
Sure. So, as you might guess, one of them is the law of attraction.
Oh yeah, that one gets a lot of attention.
It does. And it's not just about, thinking happy thoughts. It's about getting your vibration to match what you want to attract.
So it's more than just positive thinking. It's about aligning your energy with your desires.
That's it. Being aware of your thoughts and beliefs and, letting go of the ones that aren't helpful.
Spring cleaning for the mind.
Exactly. And that's where the law of vibration comes in. Everything in the universe is energy, vibrating at a certain frequency.
Okay, so to attract abundance, we need to raise our vibration to match the frequency of, what we want.
You got it. Things like meditation, gratitude, even being in nature. Those can all help.
Makes sense. Raise your vibe, attract good things. What else?
Well, there's the law of cause and effect, the idea that every action creates a reaction.
Classic. What goes around comes around.
Yeah, but it's more than that. It means we're not just, passively waiting for abundance to happen. We're actively creating it through our choices.
So we're investors in our own lives. We got to put in the effort to get the returns.
Love that analogy. Then there's the law of polarity.
Okay, polarity, what's that one about?
It basically highlights that everything has its opposite. Light and dark, up and down.
Duality of life.
Exactly. And understanding this can help us when we're going through tough times. Those challenges, they're often necessary for growth.
So it's about seeing the good and the bad, finding the opportunity in the obstacle.
Exactly. Oh, and there's another one I think you'll appreciate. The law of rhythm. It reminds us that everything works in cycles.
Ah, yeah, like the ebb and flow of the tides.
Yes. And this applies to so many things. Our personal lives, our careers, relationships. There are times for growth and times for rest.
It's about recognizing that there's a time for everything. You can't force it.
Right. Trusting the timing of the universe is key.
Wow, these laws are really making me think. It's like a whole new way of looking at the world.
They're not just ideas, they're tools that can help you live a more, abundant and fulfilling life.
I can already see how they could shift your perspective and give you more control. It's pretty empowering. But before we wrap up this section, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier, the U-verse, that little corner of the cosmos that we humans occupy.
Ah, yes. It is fascinating to think about, isn't it?
It is. Even though we're just this tiny part of this huge universe, we still have the power to create amazing things.
We do. It's like we've been given this blueprint for success, and it's up to us to use it.
We're not just along for the ride, we're active participants.
Exactly. And that's where the magic happens. When we align our intentions with these universal laws, we become co-creators with the universe.
Shaping our own reality. It's a pretty awesome thought. So as we wrap up this part of our dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with today?
I want them to remember that abundance isn't just random luck, it's a system.
A system with rules and guidelines.
Yeah. And by understanding and, aligning ourselves with these universal laws, we can tap into the abundance that the universe has to offer.
It's not about hoping for the best, it's about understanding the rules of the game.
I like that.
So before we jump into the practical side of all this, let's take a moment to really absorb what we've learned so far. Then in our final segment, we'll explore how to actually put these universal laws into practice. All right, we're back, ready to unlock these 12 universal laws. We've talked about the universe as a corporation, the foundation, structure, process of abundance. But how do we actually use these laws to get what we want, to create that abundance?
Think of it like sailing. You can fight against the wind, but it's tough.
Yeah, you're not getting very far.
Right. But if you learn to use the wind to your advantage, well then, you can sail smoothly and reach your destination much easier.
So are these laws like the wind? They're always there, whether we know about them or not.
Exactly. And the more we understand them, the easier it becomes to align with them and the more abundant our lives can be.
Makes sense. So give me some examples. We touched on a few already. Attraction, vibration, cause and effect, polarity, rhythm. how do we actually apply these in our everyday lives?
Let's start with the law of attraction. It's not enough to just think positive. You have to match your vibration to what you want.
Okay, so it's about more than just thinking. It's about feeling it, embodying it.
Exactly. You got to be aware of your thoughts, your beliefs, let go of the ones that hold you back.
Declutter the mind.
Yeah. Make space for the good stuff. And that brings us to the law of vibration. Everything is energy. Everything's vibrating at a certain frequency.
So to attract good things, abundance, we need to raise our vibration to match that.
Exactly. And you can do that through meditation, practicing gratitude, just being out in nature.
So it's all about raising your vibe, attracting what you want. Okay, what about cause and effect?
Well, with that one, it's crucial to remember we're not just, sitting around waiting for abundance to fall into our laps.
We have to take action.
Right. Every choice we make, every action we take has an effect. It ripples out.
So we're responsible for creating our own abundance.
Exactly. And that ties in with the law of polarity, too, remembering that everything has its opposite.
Light and dark, good times and bad times.
Yeah. So challenges, they're just part of the process. They often lead to growth.
Every cloud has a silver lining, as they say.
Exactly. And don't forget the law of rhythm. Things happen in cycles.
Right, like the seasons.
There are times to push forward, times to rest, to reflect.
It's about going with the flow, not forcing things.
Exactly. Trust the timing.
These are powerful concepts. Real makes you think about how things work.
And these are just 5 of the 12 laws. Violet's book goes into much more detail.
Wow, so much to explore. This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I feel like I've got a whole new perspective on abundance.
I'm glad to hear that. Keep exploring these laws, play around with them, see how they can work in your life.
It's really empowering to think that we have the ability to shape our reality. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you really want our listeners to remember?
Abundance isn't something you find outside of yourself. It's a state of being.
It's about how you see the world, how you connect with the energy around you.
Exactly. Aligning with those natural laws that govern creation.
It's not about chasing after abundance. It's about cultivating it within. That's a powerful thought to end on.
It is. And when you do that, the universe steps in to support you in ways you might not expect. So to everyone listening, take what you've learned and apply it. See what abundance you can create.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey exploring abundance. Until next time.
Being a soul star is easy. Just like and subscribe to join the journey. Thanks for watching.